I could everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Committeeman Moran will be participating at tonight's meeting remotely. Roll call, please.
Mr. Moran?
Yeah.
Mr. Richardson? Mr. Hogan?
Here.
Mr. LeMay?
You
Here.
already signed?
Mr.
I already
Narco?
signed. Lee?
Mr. Getchia?
Here.
Mr. Bahu?
Here.
Mr. Sheehan?
Here. Mr. Gitchi, anybody signed up for public participation? Thank you, sir.
No.
Are there any school committee communications? Hearing none. Our student rep is not here tonight, but his letter is in front of you guys for everybody's reading at their when they get a chance. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed, unanimous. A motion to approve the minutes of September 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, unanimous. Do I have a motion to waive the reading of the warrant?
So move. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Is there a motion to approve the expenditures of $4,444,202.86?
Motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous.
Aye.
There is no report of the general counsel. I'll turn it over to Superintendent Davis.
Good evening. The first item on my agenda, I'm happy to announce that we have 3 students present with us this evening that have been accepted to and participated in various summer programs. And I'd like to invite each one up individually to share their amazing experiences with the committee. Our first student is Madison Koza. Madison is a senior in our information technology program and was accepted into the Broad Scholars Summer Program, which is a highly competitive program for students interested in science and research. Madison, welcome, and thank you for coming here tonight to share your experience.
Hello.
I did a 6-week internship with the Broad Institute where I studied computational biology. I did a research project studying how different malaria mutations are distributed throughout different geographic locations. And I did this using Python in principal component analysis. Python is something I learned here at Greater Lowell. So it really helped me out when I was trying to program for this internship. But yeah, so that's what I did.
So we're very proud of Madison. This was a very competitive program. Madison is currently a senior in our information technology program who is applying for colleges. And she's applying for MIT right now. So we want to
Awesome.
wish her well in her future endeavors and thank her for sharing this amazing experience that she had the opportunity to participate in. Thank you, Madison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madison. Madison, you keep appearing in front of us.
Yes.
And, you are by far growing dramatically in this school, and we're very proud of your accomplishments.
Next is Nicholas Morass. Nicholas is a senior in our CAD program and had the opportunity to participate in the MITES program through MIT, which is a highly competitive program with less than 10% of students getting accepted. Nicholas, welcome, and thank you for coming here tonight to share your experience about the MITES program.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So MITES is basically it's a program run by MIT for underrepresented students passionate about STEM, and I participated in their semester program, which is a 6-month online program with multiple parts. So the first part is like a STEM immersion phase. So through that, I got experience with college level classes through like very specific kind of like STEM classes. So I got exposed to some new stuff, so that was pretty cool. I did sustainable design and science writing, so I got to do like a research, like a project on sustainable design and kind of energy, and then I also got to write an article about like engineering innovations. And then the second part with that is the college preparation phase. So from August up to December, it's basically just helping with college applications. So I've had multiple essay workshops. I have people that help me with that, and then we're having like interview preparatory pretty soon too. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and I've learned a lot.
Can you share your future plans? Nicholas is also a senior, and if you recall, a national gold medal winner for urban search and rescue, which I know he's very proud of and worked very hard to achieve that accomplishment.
Yeah.
Share your plans, Nick.
Yeah, of course. So senior now, applying to college. So the goal is MIT as well. We'll see where it gets me. I'm applying to a good amount of like the top universities. So yeah. And then with the medal, like you brought up, it's just a robotics competition that I've been doing. So I've been really involved with basically anything involving engineering, and I'm really passionate about that. So I hope to pursue that with mechanical or aerospace engineering in college. And yeah.
Thank you, Nick,
Awesome.
for sharing your
Thank
experiences,
you.
and we want to wish you well.
Very good.
And next, I'd like to invite Rowan Murphy. Rowan is a sophomore in our health assisting and pre-nursing program, and she had the opportunity this summer to attend the Woman to Woman conference at Emerson College, specifically geared towards empowering young women to be leaders in our community. In addition, Rowan was selected to be a member of the 2024-25 Teen Advocacy Council for Girls, Inc. She was one of the few chosen to participate in this program nationwide, and we welcome Rowan here tonight to share some of her experiences.
Hi everyone. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. My name is Rowan Murphy, and I go here at Lowell Tech. I'm a sophomore from Lowell, Massachusetts, and I'm health assisting, which I enjoy and hope to further my education by attending college for political science or law. Today I'm here to talk with you all about my work and experience with Girls Inc. of Greater Lowell, and how that has inspired me and motivated me to be an agent of change. Girls Inc. is an organization that has been changing lives of girls in around the Lowell area for over 100 years. The mission of Girls Inc. is to encourage girls to be strong, smart, and bold, with a fundamental belief in recognizing the potential in every girl. My journey started 2 years ago when I began attending the Lowell Youth Leadership Program, also known as LYLP, a summer camp that is hosted here at Greater Lowell Tech for kids from ages 10 to 16. For those 3 weeks, we are taught leadership skills, technical skills, and introduction to sport with the goal of strengthening our relationship with our community. This year, they added a career day for the older campers. We got to pick from a few different experiences, including visiting the State House with an action plan, dancing in a music video, making a song, and many more. The second I read visiting the State House with an action plan, I knew that is exactly what I wanted to do. Advocacy work is something I'm interested in, but didn't have much experience with. Little did I know, the decision I made was actually the spark that lit the fuse for my love and future with my leadership work. After deliberating numerous topics, our LLP group eventually settled on a topic of veteran homelessness, which happens to be an issue near and dear to my heart. The presentation was so nerve-wracking. I have always wanted to do something like this. As I went up to speak, I felt all the nerves fly away. I spoke with passion because it is something I love. I loved every bit of it and knew this is where I wanted to be in the future. From that experience, I was able to forge great relationships with our state representatives, Rodney Elliott, and his legislative aide, Stephanie Barr. That was the day I fell in love with advocacy. But LLP is an incredible organization on its own. It's the relationships they have with Girls Inc. that provided me with an opportunity to discover and expand my leadership skills. Kofa Malone of Girls Inc. and Lisa Azar have always teamed up. LLP have teamed up to provide me and another camper the opportunity to attend the Woman to Woman Leadership Camp. It is a 10-day camp for girls all over the world, held in Boston every year. The Girls Inc. is the goal of the program is to provide empowerment, engage, and elevate girls and women worldwide. Over those very intense days, we visited many places all around the world, all around the state, including Harvard, Babson, Rockport, Manchester by the Sea, and many more. We listened and engaged with numerous women who are leaders in their own right. We listened and engaged with numerous women who are leaders in their own right in industries such as law, medical, healthcare fields, finance and education, and many more. The days were long but so worth it. We were taught the importance of civic duty and volunteerism. We learned how to develop healthy self-esteem, and we strengthened our leadership skills through media literacy, public speaking, and critical thinking. And best of all, I made friendships with so many amazing, intelligent women across the globe. At the end of those 10 days, each delegate had the opportunity to present their own action plan. which is something we have been working on throughout the duration of the program. With the additional skills that Woman to Woman provided me, I was able to really expand the topic of combating veteran homelessness and present at the panel of experienced community leaders. Woman to Woman was an incredible experience, and my goal is to take the skills I learned there and apply them to advocate for members on my local community. I believe that teens, especially teenage girls, have a voice and endless potential, which is why I have chosen to accept my position of Girls Inc. of Greater Lowell. My mission there is to rebuild the teen program. COVID and construction delays at the Worthing Street building have made it challenging for Girls Inc. to help find the people and the teens back to the program. My hope is to bring back the teen program and to create a curriculum focused around leadership. My vision for the program is to recruit about 10 girls who are interested in bettering our community. From identifying the needs and focusing on one, we will be able to make an action plan. From there, we will be able to learn how to further develop leadership skills and better advocate for topics that are important to us. I want girls my age to think big, dream big, and share a passion for advocacy by bringing that inner voice out. This kind of impact that Girls Inc. has on thousands of girls all over the country. Recently, though, the encouragement from Miss Malone and the team at Girls Inc. I have applied and have been chosen for Girls Inc. Teen National Advocacy Council. It's a nationwide body of girls participates from grade 10 to 12 who share our views on address issues focusing on girls and youth communities. We are passionate about advocacy and spend the year developing our leadership skills and action plans to prepare for the annual Washington, D.C. fly-in. There we will put our skills to the test as we have the opportunity to voice our desires for change at the highest level of government as we lobby at Capitol Hill. I'm looking forward to my year ahead and would love to come back and update you on my progress if you have me. Thank you for the opportunity to share my experience with LYLP and Girls Inc. of Greater Lowell.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Ron, for sharing your experience, yes.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding work.
Thank you.
You know, I don't know if a lot of us know what Girls Inc. does, but just to hear that, you know, you want to be an advocate to redevelop the teen group
Yeah.
to sort of begin to grow within the community and assist what you're hoping, which is homeless veterans. I think that is quite the goal.
Yeah.
So congratulations. You worked hard, great presentation, and keep up the good work. And I'm sure this committee would love to have you back at the end.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
As a female leader myself, Rowan, I'm very, I had to say it, I'm very proud of you. And I support you in your endeavors and hope that you continue to lead as a young female and follow your passion and fulfill your goals. So
Thank
thank you. We're proud
Very
of you.
good.
Thank you.
Roman, thank you.
Thank
I can't, obviously I'm biased, I've known your parents
Oh.
well before you've been born, so, for me to see you come before us is phenomenal,
Thank you, sir.
and, thank you.
You're awesome. We'll invite you back. Thank you. Thank you to all our students this evening. We're very proud of you and your accomplishments, and we thank you for coming tonight, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you for representing us.
Yes. So next is our cooperative education report. The report you were provided indicates in your packages that 175 senior students are participating in our cooperative education program as of the end of September. However, I'm happy to report that to date, there's 196 senior students out participating in co-op, which is 35% of the class of 2025. A copy of this report is in your package, and I think in the next couple of weeks, several more students will be going out, hoping to get over 200 students out. So thank you again to Stacy for all her hard work with our cooperative education program, and to our cooperative education employers. Keep it coming, because our goal is to get as many seniors out on co-op as we can. So that's the cooperative education report. Does anybody have any questions?
Obviously, that's the first month, that's phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest, that's the first month.
Yeah.
So we're at, what, 47% last year, something around that line?
No, at the end of the
Yeah,
year,
at the end of the year,
yes.
so we're on a
So,
great,
yeah,
we're on a good path.
we're on a good path. So hopefully that continues. Next, I'd like to ask our Assistant Superintendent Principal, Mr. Michael Barton, along with our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Mr. Gregory Haas, to join us to provide an update on our MCAS. Also joining them is our wonderful team of administrators. Mrs. Ariana Afranakis, our Math and Science Chairperson, Mrs. Allison Rahani, our Director of Special Education, Mr. Paul Mayette, our English Language Arts and Social Studies Chairperson, and Ms. Kate Palladino, our Director of English Language Education. And I think I got everybody, so I'm gonna turn it.
It's just my pleasure to report these 2024 MCAS results and ability overview. We invited our colleagues here who are key people involved in achieving the results that we achieved. So we're pleased and proud to present them to you. So I'm going to turn over to Mr. Haas to give the overview.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I want to start off just kind of explaining some of the changes that occurred from last year's MCAS to this year's MCAS. Our friends at the department, coming out of COVID and returning to life as normal, decided it would be a good year to raise the requirements for students to pass MCAS.
So let me hit you with this one before I did my first question, and I hate the arbitrarily, right? So they decided arbitrarily to whack us 15, 10, 5. Okay, so that had nothing to do with us?
It was not, it's
So-
across the Commonwealth.
Right, so I'm just saying, so me looking, because we went up 3%, we would have probably,
Gone up even more.
right, okay, fine, so
Yep,
I'm good with everything you have now.
yep. So,
Everything's fine right now.
Yeah.
We've done a great job, I'll never bother you again. Thank you, guys, we're all good now, thanks. Oh, let's
Have
be
a great
brutally honest,
night.
have a great, present.
yeah, so
Yes.
there were two changes in this past year. So there was a change in the scaled score that students needed to earn. So last year in ELA it was a 455. For the class of 2026 it went up to a 470. At the same time that they increased the scale score requirement, they changed the raw to scaled score requirement. So students had to earn an additional 15% in the English test that they wouldn't have had the year prior. They raised expectations on the math MCAS 10% and the biology MCAS by 5%. Just to kind of put it out there, the class of 2030, they're raising it again, and the expectation is going to be that students earn a 500 scaled score. So that's the department.
Are they raising it annually, or they raise it every 15?
It's every couple of years.
Every few
It was,
years.
in 2022 was the last vote to raise it, and that's what brought to the 470, and then starting with the class of 2030, the 500. So that's just to put everything that we're going to talk about tonight in context.
I'm on your side right now,
Yep.
just, we're a vocational school, we're doing double the work in half the time,
Yep.
so.
So with that, the change in the kind of the scaled score and the conversion and everything, we did see a little bit of an impact in English and math from 2023's MCAS to 2024. English was minimal; it did go down about 4%. The state also saw a decline. In math, we had a 3% decline, and the state had a 2% decline in meeting and exceeding. And again, similar to the past years, those numbers I'm going to use are the kind of the combined percentage of students that are exceeding or meeting expectations. Science was the one for us to celebrate this past year. So I know when we were here last year, Carol Chisholm and I were talking to you about the change that we were doing with the biology program, moving it from a 2-year track to a 1-year track. So these are the results of our first year of that with the freshman class. We went up 2% from where we were the year prior. Excuse me, I'm sorry, we went up 9% from where we were versus the state did see a 2% increase. So for the first time since surely the new MCAS came out, we have matched the state average. So we are directly on par with the Commonwealth in terms of science, and that's reflective also in the change in a 2-year program to a 1-year program. So I'm really proud of the science teachers and our freshman students and their efforts in the biology MCAS. We started this last year. I was showing you the MCAS growth slides, and again, every year the cohort is different, and we kind of get the students that we get. Versus growth is something that is a little bit more controllable within Greater Lowell. It's the change in students' performance from 8th grade to 10th grade. So we did see again a little bit of a shift in English for this past year, and we'll get into this a little bit more in one of the upcoming slides. The writing standards took a little bit of a dip, and that's where we saw the lower growth in English, but we already have some strategies in place to adjust that. And then the continued revision of the math curriculum, having Karen Jackson in there working with them has been really helpful, and we've seen the math growth continue to increase year over year, and we've actually exceeded the state in
Just to
growth.
clarify, Karen Jackson is a math coach.
Math coach, yep. Yes.
The dip in English is statewide. What are we attributing to? Are we attributing to writing? Are we attributing to reading?
I would definitely be attributing it to writing. Every year the tests seem to require more and more writing of students, and that's the area of struggle for students who struggle.
Got you. So we're trying to play catch up with them. They're leaving the 8th grade.
And then they keep upping the score, so
Right,
on top
right,
of it.
right. And they raise the English by 15 points.
Which is huge.
Of course it is. It's a very large, realistically, expectation, considering, you're in an inner city district or statewide, 15% of anything. I would love a 15% savings on my groceries, so 15% is a very large number, so thanks.
Paul, from your experience?
So, looking at two pieces of experience, one is that looking through the guide of analysis, writing was the biggest hit where we were taking the biggest dip. I also, just as means of comparison, I sit on another school committee where my children go to school, and that was the very same story there. So in terms of looking at the state around that, it's been very similar.
So let me ask you a question, the 15% hit, right? Where would it be? So we're 2% below, on top of the 15% hit, right?
Yeah, well, the 15% hit applies across the board.
Right, so
Yes.
we're 2% below that 15% hit, so if that 15% hit wasn't there, we could be anywhere from 8 to 9 to 10
Right,
to 12
we've
above,
broken out
correct?
I don't think we've broken it out in any way to look
No,
at
no,
what it would have been, 'cause
I wouldn't
that's-
even ask you guys to
right.
do that, but
It would be
just
likely very positive.
It would have
right,
been.
in my head, so this is an arbitrary hit, that's why I asked at the beginning. It bothers me that we're arbitrarily hitting it across the board, and I'm a big, I don't think the vocational school kids, I think there should be a hands-on for the MCAS with however we do it, but we're not gonna get there, and DESI is what DESI is. But arbitrarily across the board, the 15%, we're 2 below that 15%. I'm not gonna say we don't have a writing problem, but obviously we're
yeah,
below,
certainly
obviously
something
we're
we
below
wanna
that,
work on.
right?
Yes.
So they're gonna tell us we can get better, and minus that 15% hit, I think we're fine. But that's me, and it's only me, I'm not reflective of the board, the 15%, 10%, 5%, when I started looking at it, and I watch these, it's the only number we get to be judged by. In the last 4 years, 5 years, we've been going this way. And for them to arbitrarily hit us where we still went this way compared to last year, where that was the biggest number we went, it bothers me.
I think to my way of looking, regardless of the direction, the number one thing that I wanna look for is where can we improve the most?
And that's-
And writing is that.
I don't disagree with that, but I just wanna make sure everybody hears that we're above we were above last year where we went through, where we kinda went upscale, right?
Yes.
Well said.
That's what I wanna make sure everybody, because people are gonna look at this number and say, oh, you're down 2%, actually, we're really not. We're 5, 6, 7, 8% above the arbitrary 15%. Why isn't it 10, 5, and 0? Because STEM is new, right? So why 15, 10, and 5? And that's just me being me. So, sorry.
You're good. There's another arbitrary coming when we get to accountability. So, similar, we're just going to go into some of our selected populations just to see the improvements and the changes that they've been making. Our English learner student group this past year, and again, kudos to Kate and her team, really excelled across the board. So we've seen some improvements in all the content areas. In all of them, they're now surpassing the state average. So we're in pretty good shape with those different groups. Kate, I don't know if you want to talk to them. I know we have some other slides about the L's, but just talk about kind of the effort in your team this year.
Sure, so, this year, and with the addition of another teacher, which brings me up to 8, I make 9, I'm still a licensed EL instructor myself. All of my teachers are out co-teaching. We have sections for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I also have an instructor teaching, so we work all together doing, talking about strategies. I run 2 PD groups after school around instructional strategies for Lowell students, and we're seeing the results here. Like, I'll go in and give feedback and do a lot of, my instructional coach and I, Emily Smith, we do a lot of feedback cycles with our staff, talking about what did you think worked, what do you wanna work on, and we're actually spreading out into other areas. We're working with math right now, but we're also going down into the vocational areas as well.
All right, next up we have our students with disabilities. So again, we saw some dips here with English, primarily in English. We did see a little bit of a change in math as well, but only minimally. It was down 1% in meeting and exceeding expectations. And then again, science, we saw that major shift where we saw an 8% gain in students with disabilities meeting or exceeding expectations. So really showing that kind of that hyper-focused 1 year of biology. The team that we have, the co-teaching teams that we've had in that Biology 1 program have been really solid, and those results are yielding out. So, Mr. Hani, do you want to speak on the special ed team and kind of their efforts?
Yeah, so I think post-pandemic, we've come a long way. Students are working really hard. Teachers are working hard. They're giving a lot of targeted instruction towards the areas that we struggled with previously. So through MCAS analysis, I'm not loud enough.
No.
So through MCAS analysis, we've been able to identify the areas that students struggled with in previous years and then target those areas specifically. And I think that's what's holding us up right now. That's a big piece of it. Additionally, we've had a lot more writing infused into classwork to help boost that writing score, because that is the area of struggle. And so we'll continue those efforts and keep on going. Any questions?
It's sort of across the board, right? We're trying to increase the writing, whether it's student with disabilities or English language learners or our general population. But that's sort of been the biggest dip statewide.
Yeah.
And they're acquiring more of it. Therefore, we have to sort of stay on top of it to keep increasing our
And writing
scores.
is an important communication skill.
Of course it is.
And I'd also like to add that for students with disabilities, it's not unusual to see them shut down when faced with writing tasks. And I think we've come a long way with our mental health supports, which really help with that. When a student gets stuck, we work on moving them past it and getting them back engaged in the classroom. So,
Sure, once they're overwhelmed, it's very
Yes.
difficult to go ahead and sort of bring them back, so
and we work to get them back in.
great strategy.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And just a couple more slides, some selected population data before we move into accountability. So our low-income student group, and again, income status is typically one of the biggest indicators of success in the academic realm. We saw improvements are above the state average in all of them, so we're above the state in English, in math, and in science. We saw some similar changes in a little bit of a dip in English from last year, but the other two saw improvements. Similarly, our Asian student group saw improvements. Last year, they were lower enough in the statewide percentile ranking that they were a student group that we were kind of watching and effing to put some more focus and effort into improving their scores, but we have done that for this year, and so they're moved out of that kind of watch level, and we'll see that reflected in the accountability. Obviously, with this group, what we talked about last year, we're still consistently below the state average, but we did see the improvements that we've been looking for. Our Hispanic student group as well is exceeding state averages. We're above them in all 3 content areas. We did see some decline in English and math, but again, so did the state average. But again, this student group saw major gains in science from the prior year. And then just really, so the first couple bullets, just areas of strength and growth. These top 3 items are ones that we've talked about. So the change in the MCAS expectations for English this past year. We have still seen gains from where we were in 2019. So even out of the pandemic with statewide learning loss, where Massachusetts is below where they were, we're still 19% above. So we're still in the right direction. Paul, I don't know if you want to talk about any of the kind of improvement efforts or the things you're doing this year.
Yes,
I need the mic.
Thank you.
So the probably the biggest tool that we've got in our arsenal this year from Greg is the STAR data testing, which we first gave to students last spring and then again this fall, and we'll continue that twice every year now. And what that allows teachers to do is for any given student to pull up their performance, which breaks it down into just pretty fine detail on their strengths and weaknesses, so they can look at what a student can do very specifically and help to target that. It also allows them to pull up for a class, and it sort of aggregates what the students in that class are able to do. So that allows for some planning to focus the needs specifically on the students in front of them. In addition to that, we're kind of revamping our English tutoring program, trying to make it better able to hit a broad array of our population. Obviously, we always want to move from the partially meeting to the meeting. That's that big line. But we also want to target students who could use that going from meeting to exceeding. We want to try to get everybody moving in the right direction, and so the students who need enrichment to hit them too. And then, of course, to continue what we've done in the past that have given us the gains in the past few years that we've seen.
Similarly in math, kind of the top bullet is just a summary of what we've been discussing. So in terms of the performance areas, we did better than the state in 2 of the 4. So our geometry and statistics and probability were really good. Our algebra needed some work, but that's what students take in 9th grade. So by the time they hit MCAS, it's a little bit of a year removed. So making some revisions to the scope and sequence of the curriculum to make sure that everything is right in front of them before they go into the MCAS. Ariana, did you want to speak on math?
Well, I would just add that similar to what is being done with English, we're also using STAR analysis for math in order to see our year-to-year growth. We also have all of the math teachers, and when we speak about science, it's going to be similar. They analyze their data every year, so that's one of our first meetings that we did. They all, at the class-wide level, get their data, and they're able to see where they're falling, where their students are falling, so that we can really focus on improvements just every year in the areas that need it.
Don't go far, you're still up. Next we've got biology. This is the one I think we're really able to celebrate this year. We have done better than we've ever done here at Greater Lowell Tech. We've matched the state average, huge gains in all of our student groups. So huge kudos to the science department for their efforts this past year, and some additional changes that we're going to have for this year to hopefully do even better.
So we had previously had math tutors, but this year we also have science tutors. So we have one that is focusing solely on biology, and another one that focuses on chemistry and our upper level sciences. This really allows them, because science is so broad over the different subjects, to really focus in on what's needed and work with the teachers and the students. So in addition to that, we're going to revise the way that we've done our biology MCAS boot camps from previous years. It used to be a multi-week event, and now we're really focusing it and making it a little more intensive, and also making it so that we can get more students at once coming in. Sometimes it's easier over just a few days. So we're going to take roughly the 2 weekends before MCAS, and on those Saturdays make it more of an intensive all-day thing where the students rotate through the major strands in biology. So each student group will get a real focus on one topic, rotate to the next, and this will be right before the exam.
It's a great strategy. Is this an option for the students, or are they sort of all expected to come in on the Saturdays during those
It
trainings?
would be optional, but with all of what we do with data analysis throughout the year, we're really going to be able to tell by the time we get to that point which students are most in need. So we'll increase our outreach to those students and those families to really ensure that the program is focusing most on the ones that need it most. And then if there's available space for additional students, we'll continue to open it up to more and more students.
Are the families buying in?
Seems like the
Are they-
numbers are up.
Yeah, no,
Numbers
obviously
are
the
up. I
numbers
say
are
they
up.
are.
No, obviously the numbers are up. I just want to make sure they continue to buy in.
I
I mean-
think we'll see once we get to the time to test these.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure they're buying in. I mean, it's like, it's tough to get a kid here on a Saturday.
So I actually did this previously. I ran at my previous workplace, the boot camps that we did in this format. And we actually found that our student enrollment was much higher. There's usually often many conflicts with after-school events, sports. So when you take the same amount of hours and you drag it over a period of months, by the time the kids get in, get settled, after school, after the full day, for months to go every single week or weeks to go after school, it's a lot. And so we actually found we had a lot more interest in just a shorter, more intensive time. It was right before the exams, and families could kind of say, yeah, a Saturday or two is doable. And we liked to have the kids come on both Saturdays, but because the exams, even here, the exams that are being done are fundamentally similar to what is tested on the MCAS, we're really able to say to the students coming in, hey, you really need to focus more on this material. This is the first Saturday. If you can come just the first Saturday, that'd be great. We'd love to see you both, but it gives a little bit more flexibility, and a lot of families found that it was easier to plan for 2 days than it was for multiple after-school days.
I'm fine with it as long as they're buying it. Obviously they are, and we're going up, so I'm good with it. If you said it works somewhere else, let's have at it.
Do you have any issues with transportation?
We're still
For the
working
Saturday.
on that detail for the Saturday event. It's still in the early planning phases since we're still at the beginning of the year. But we will definitely, that has one of the first things that we kind of brought up as something that we are going to ensure that we can kind of problem solve.
Inner city kids might have more of a problem.
We're looking at
It's something that will
the LRT.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
we
we
would
show.
definitely provide bus passes through the
I was gonna say,
LRTA.
could we use the LRTA, or we have a lot of buses out there, can we,
Yeah.
would it be something similar to like
So you
that?
have passes available.
I think
No, we would get
we've done
passes.
similar events during February and April vacation where we've had reasonably good attendance, and we've provided bus passes in that instance. I think just to echo Ariana's comments that surprisingly kids do end up showing up, especially when they can come with friends. So it's certainly a worthwhile effort, and we have had success in February and April in the past. So bus transportation will definitely be something we can provide.
I love it. I remember when Carol set up here, we were struggling with math and before COVID, so we were hurting on the computer side of it and thought outside the box. This is outside the box thinking. I love it. However we can get up here. I love it. I think it's great.
And one more thing I wanted to mention that was kind of an intersection between the math and the science is that by doing biology in just 1 year, it opens us up to offering more classes the second year for science that also have a higher amount of math skills integrated in them. So what I've already done is spoken with the chemistry teachers, and we are looking in to see how we can kind of weave more of those mathematical skills into those sophomore chemistry classes in a way that you couldn't before with biology. And so that's really going to allow us to look at math as more of an applied, look at science as applied mathematics in some units. And just seeing those real world examples of math being used in other ways helps both groups.
And being a vocational school, we use math in many of our
Too.
trades.
It is everywhere.
So it is something that,
Imagine that, Freddie.
Yeah. well,
Imagine that.
yeah. So
Graduate
it's
from the vote?
actually a big benefit.
Did you graduate?
Unfortunately,
No,
not here.
I did.
I know, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to share that information.
I know.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So with November, a couple of weeks away, has there been any chatter from the state or DESE or amongst school districts about if question 2 goes through?
So what I can say is just this morning I got an email from the department about the November retest, the February retest, the March retest, so they're moving along regardless right now. We did look a little bit into it, so the ballot item, if it's a yes vote and the Commonwealth votes to kind of move away from MCAS being a graduation requirement, it doesn't trigger that immediately. The language of the ballot actually goes back to the legislation, which is able to rewrite it how they fit, and it doesn't necessarily go back to the voters. So Even if we, it's almost like the, marijuana, when that became legal, it sat in the legislation for a couple of years before it
Sort of
found
like
its way out.
Sort of like the income tax decrease that we're still waiting for.
Yes,
Yeah.
similar, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen with the MCAS, so that's how it is.
So I guess I'll just jump on that just for a second. Great question. What percentage of our students graduate, pass the test, pass the MCAS test, the first time they take it as sophomores? Is that the 52% that I'm seeing?
No, I would say we're in much better shape because there's those that kind of in the partially median where they, it's somewhat passed, they get an EPP, so they, pass the MCAS, so to speak, but they still have to pass their high school course requirements to fulfill the other half of it. I'd say this past year we had maybe 40 that were not successful in English, another 40 in math, so,
And
very
that's
small
and that's
numbers.
And that's in the sophomore year?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
and
in the sophomore
that should just be noted.
That's
a-
the number 40, not
Yeah.
I understand.
Correct, 40, and that's high
But
because
it's an outlier
Yeah.
because of the increase in the requirements for the MCAS test. Previous to that, it wasn't anywhere near that.
last year we had 3 in English that we didn't pass, but then they changed the
Okay.
scores.
So it's minimal,
Yeah, it's
bottom line.
So I very rarely ask a question on the answer to. And so do we know, 8th grade they take the MCAS, correct? Do we know what our students coming in test at and where they are sophomore year? Do we know what our, if they're at fake numbers, 30% coming into grade Lowell, and we're at 50% their sophomore year? Do we know that, or do we not
Yeah,
know?
we know that.
That's
Okay.
that student
We can
growth.
prove that they gain a lot coming to school here.
That's, I guess, what I'm asking, because it's driving me insane with the, and I know I'm hopping on the 15-10-5. And I feel bad because it was the second year we had to do science, and we got kind of handcuffed. And I'm a big Volt kid, obviously, I graduated from here, I don't like where we have to do a trade, and then I'm looking at all the, not the technical side, the
academics.
yeah, the academic side sit in front of us, and I'm not, the technical side can be here, they really have nothing to do with the MCAS. And I take that
Well, I
back,
think it's-
they do, because we have to work hand in hand. But my thing is, we're doing double the work in half the time. And I'm sitting here, and they arbitrarily hit us with those numbers, and we exceeded that by 3%, and it's a fake number. It's a lot larger than 3%. When I got the packet, I looked, I'm like, what are we talking about here? And it just drives me insane that we're not getting the accomplishment we deserve. And walking in the door as an 8th grader, where are we as a sophomore? Because when obviously, Tingsboro, Dunstable, Drake and Lowell set the foundation. But being a vote kid, if we build a house on a bad foundation, it's gonna topple.
There's a lot of progress that's made from students that are, if you compare their 7th and 8th grade scores to where we are here, there's a lot of growth that happens in our school. But to your point, an interesting piece of data that Mr. Haas is gonna go over is the overall percentile ranking in terms of you take all of this data, the scores, the attendance, the dropout rate, graduation rate, put it all together and you get this percentile ranking, and it's anywhere from 99 to 1. And 99 obviously is the, you get your Concord, Kyle, your W towns that we all like to call Western Wellesley, those neighborhoods. And then you have the lower end. Our percentile ranking, as you're gonna see, is 52%. And that's the highest it's ever been in the history of the school. And if you look at that data piece, it's interesting to compare where we are with the other Voc Tech schools, which were really climbing high. But the other real interesting data piece is if you compare that piece with some other comprehensive high schools, now not that there's comparables, but everyone always does. Look at some of those comparable communities, and I'm not going to name them here, but if you look at them, we're on par with some pretty strong communities.
I've seen
now.
that.
And as to your point, we're doing this education, not only the technical education, the academic education, we're doing it in less time, which you're underscoring, which is incredibly important. So you look where we are in comparison to some of those other towns, and we're very, very, very strong for this high school, which is, I think, really a testimony to the achievement that this community has done.
Which is a testimony to everybody sitting in this room right now, minus the school committee. We just have policy.
Well,
You guys do the
all
work,
support
let's
us.
be honest, but you guys do the work. We set the policy, and I don't take away from anyone at this table. You guys do the work, we listen to the superintendent.
I think it bodes well just being the most diverse district in the Commonwealth, in my opinion, as far as researching and looking at the numbers.
And the largest.
You know, we stand out alone here, if you look at certain areas, and, I'm happy with what's transpired. I thank you all.
Yeah, we should be celebrating the success.
Yeah.
No, I'm
We should-
ecstatic about this, I mean, especially considering what happened with the arbitrary numbers, it's crazy.
You're
Yeah.
gonna see some slides that I think really present the school in a really favorable, both in comparison to other voc techs, but also other communities
Well,
that
just,
don't have, as you said, the same demographic and the same amount of time devoted toward academic learning. We're really achieving at a really, really good pace
Good.
in this
A
school.
good rate of development, right.
In terms of accountability, the state is kind of maintaining the accountability system that they were using, where they are attaching points to academic achievement, growth, high school completion. So this is similar to what we did last year. You know, my kind of caveat to this being the process that they do. So each year we talked about how the department puts out a goal and they base it off of last year. So last year, you know, I'm making up numbers, but say our goal in English language arts was 500. We did, we scored a 510. So the state gave us 4 points because we exceeded the target. So then for this year, the state said, well, you did 510 last year, so why don't you do 520 this year? Unfortunately, we fell short of last year's target, so we got no points. And that's the accountability system the state is using. Every year, based on where you were the year prior, they want you to do better. And then that's if you do better, you get 3 points. If you see a little bit of growth but don't meet their new targets, you get 1 point. And then if you see even a minimal decline, and we did, we saw a decline in English as the whole state did, we got no points. So that's what occurred with the point loss in English language arts as well as mathematics. Everywhere else we saw either where we held the scores that we had last year or we made gains. So again, we talked about this in the English learner slide, but Kate's team scored 4 out of 4 in English language proficiency, which was a huge point gain for this year and helped offset that. So testament to that, but that kind of helped balance us out from the department's policy and where we didn't meet that goal in English and math. This year also saw the return of the lowest performing student group. So with that, the state looks at students that are here at Greater Lowell in their 8th grade MCAS scores and kind of plucks out the what they deem as the 10% of students that should do the worst based on their school attendance, their discipline ratings, their prior MCAS scores, other factors. And so that group of students is weighted in as part of our final accountability. So you can see for all of our students, we got 60% of our possible points. For our lowest performing group, we got 52%, and then the state merges those out to 56. So that's kind of the reference target percentage that they give us for each year. So then to get the actual accountability percentile, so they merged last year's score where we had the 80%, and again, that was getting really high scores in those target areas, and then they did not factor in the lowest performing student group, so we only had the kind of the average of all students, so that was factored in there from last year, and then we have all students this year. So we had met 65% of our progress towards target. We're not requiring any assistance or intervention like last year with the Asian student group. Substantial progress towards meeting those targets, and with that we ended up with an accountability percentile of 52, which is up yet again from where we were last year. So I do remember Chairman Bahu, it was you last year that said congratulations, but don't let your foot off the gas, and I think we continue to try to make some efforts this year, and it did kind of yield out our accountability percentile. So
Keep up the good work.
yep. Last couple slides, again, just the comparison to the other vocational and agricultural schools. Similar process to what we've done. So this is a graph of every vocational and agricultural school in the entire Commonwealth. The average accountability score for every single one of those was a 50. So when you take your average vocational school, we are kind of surpassing them at the state level. So, again, really something to be proud of when you consider the different communities, the different demographics of students in those communities. Kind of breaking it down to some other pieces, enrollment, obviously we are by far the largest vocational school, more than twice the size of the average. Low income, we're on the higher end in terms of the students from low-income households that we're working with, and again, a huge factor, or huge predictor of student success in school.
So I guess the refreshing piece for me was everybody below us, they didn't beat us.
Yeah.
So that's the refreshing piece for me, and I started looking at the wealthier community vocational, because I know he hates me saying this, the wealthier vocational techs ahead of us. We finished in the top 13 out of 35, so we jumped a lot of wealthy communities.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's, so tip your hat. I kinda like this shot, cause I'm a vote. I wanna see the vote.
You wanna see
I don't wanna see the Chomsers, the Barickas, the Drakens and the Lowells. It's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I don't wanna deal with that.
You know, and to me, this is kind of, again, kind of how I've gone from, the enrollment to the percentage of students with disabilities to English learner enrollment, really trying to find who are our 10. And so this is the average of our 10 closest comps. From last year to this year, of the 10, 7 of them either saw no growth or a decline. Only 3 of them saw an increase. And last year, we were right behind Worcester Tech. I think Worcester Tech was at 61, and they saw a huge drop this past year, and we took that #1 spot for the year. So
I pulled it out. Trust me, I saw it.
I hazard that you were going to be prepared for that. So, any questions that we can kind of go over on MCAS, any of the student groups, accountability?
Great presentation.
Yeah,
Thank you
good
so
job.
much. Congratulations. Your hard work truly is paying off. Keep up the good work. Don't let off the gas. because-
So I just wanna reiterate that again to Mike Barton, to Greg, and to all of our administrators, our teachers, and our students for their commitment to their education and to success. So we should all be proud of us as a school community. I think we're really making stride as a school community, as a whole school community. MCAS is one piece of it, but there's a lot of things to celebrate. Our attendance has been incredible. Our co-op numbers are up. Our students are committed to coming to school every day. So our participation in sports and extracurriculars is increased. A lot of things that make up a really positive school community are all coming together. So I want to thank Mike. I want to thank the administrative team. Is through their hard work and through our instructors' hard work that we're able to be where we are today. So congratulations and thank you.
The board as well.
Jill, it goes
Thank you for your.
top down.
Yeah,
So-
well, it takes a village.
Well,
It does take a village.
Congratulations to you and the rest of everybody else.
Thank you, everybody, for
Thanks,
coming.
guys.
Thank you for
Appreciate
your
it.
time tonight.
Good night, guys. Thank you.
Good. Very good things.
Outstanding.
Thank you, everybody, again. So, the last item on my agenda this evening is to invite Mr. Barton back to the table to present the revisions to our technical program service catalog, which will need a vote.
So good evening again. This document has been approved by this committee before. This is the program, which is the brochure that offers the services that we have at the building in terms of the technical programs through the 4 clusters. The only changes on this document are the telephone numbers and the emphasis on contacting administrative support in the transportation manufacturing cluster. That's the only 2 revisions.
Motion to approve the technical program service catalog.
Second by Mr. Hogan, roll call.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Ms. Kutcher?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I just add before I end, because in my last comment to the individuals that were here, I don't want to forget to leave out the support of our main office staff, as well as our school counseling department and our school counseling, which all working together is important to achieve the success that we have. So I just want to include everybody in that congratulations.
It's a team effort.
It is a team
It's the
effort.
whole
It
building.
takes a team.
You know?
It's the whole
It
building.
takes a team, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Knight, you're up.
Just a couple of items this evening. The first is the declaration of surplus of 10 diamedical hospital beds that were in our health assisting and pre-nursing program. Purchased over 5 years ago, and through the use of over those 5 years have taken some wear, have a lot of non-working or broken parts. So we were able to procure 10 new striker beds that meet the industry standard of our local hospitals, and replace those in that shop. So I just need a vote to declare those beds surplus.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Go ahead, sir.
Next item is the funding of the Regional Transportation Reimbursement Fund. So as of the close of last year, our reimbursement comes in a little bit after the end of the fiscal year in July. And it actually exceeded the amount that we had budgeted by about $770,000 on a year-over-year basis. Now, unrecognized revenue would normally close to E&D. However, we set up the Transportation Revolving Fund a few years back to help with the assessments to our communities, as we've heard that the growing costs are difficult for them to absorb at times. So looking back at the close of that fiscal '24 year, I'd like to reclassify the revenue from that transportation reimbursement from the general fund to the revolving fund, so that as we go through the next budget year, we'll be able to offer that benefit back to the communities as it was intended, funding-wise.
Cool.
Excellent idea.
Motion to approve $770,000 excess revenue in Chapter 71 Transportation reimbursement received in FY '24 to the Regional Transportation Reimbursement Fund.
Seconded by Mr. Hogan.
Say that again fast. Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, sir.
That's all we got. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Anybody have anything for old business? Anybody have anything for new business? Mr. Hogan?
Ancient history, but when MCAS first came in, there was a controversy. And the young lady pointed out something that's very true. She took math and transposed it across other disciplines. They were arguing that algebra is not applicable to a voc school education. Whereas math is math, numbers are numbers. And your slope of your roof, and your run and your rise of your stairs, all they had to do was change the verbiage. And our kids did pretty well over the years, didn't they?
Great comment.
We can overcome anything.
We surely can.
We should just get rid of MCAST. But that's just my opinion.
Can we, so I see a lot of, actually, this is probably not the right spot, so I'm gonna let it ride.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody. Good night.
See you, Paul.
Thanks, big guy.
Good night.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank Paul.
1 second.
Everyone else has left the call.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get